We're going to start the showcase presentations here in a moment if everyone wants to take their seats. And for those who aren't familiar with the Idea Showcase format, or this is your first meeting, how this will work is we have four, today 6 with one trio from our hosts at UNC Charlotte Urban Institute. Each person or group will have 5 minutes timed for an extra challenge to show their slides, and then we'll do those back to back and have time for questions at the end. And today's presenters from UNC Charlotte Urban Institute, Asha Ellison, Sydney Idzikowski, and Liz Morell. And they'll be introducing some info about the city of Charlotte and about the tours. We also have Dante Haywood from Cape Fear Collaborative in Wilmington, North Carolina, our newest partner, to introduce some of their work. We have Jake Cowan to talk about how NNIP partners can measure impact, drawing on the Impact Fellowship and the Impact Award. And finally, we have Cam Yap from USC in LA to talk about their latest annual housing report and the work that went into that. So without further ado, I'll turn it over to Charlotte, which I'm excited about.
Hear ye, hear ye. Welcome to the Queen City. Speaking of which, our Queen Majesty, Queen Charlotte, has decided to join us for this regal occasion. Seeing that data is supreme, she happened to want to be here to see what we shared with you. But first, we will introduce ourselves as ladies of the Queen City Court. I am Asha Ellison, also known as Lady of the Lexicon, turning quest into public epics and framing our work at the Urban Institute as mythic and inevitable.
I am Sydney Idzikowski. I am the Associate Director of our Charlotte Regional Data Trust, but you can call me Lady Vivian, Guardian of the Data Lake and Unifier of our realm. I'm an expert in data governance and connections in our kingdom.
And I am Liz Morell, alternatively known as Guinevere, the Policy Sage. I am a master of legislative lore and social impact analysis, synthesizing data from Kingdom Scrolls. I ensure our quests align with the realm's laws and visions.
Yes, so you've already heard that Charlotte is known as the Queen City. Again, we have brought our dear ruler here into the room with us. It is a regal city, and we do believe that all of the elements of this weekend shall be that for you, or the end of the week shall be that for you. Charlotte is also a boomtown sunbelt, meaning we're growing really, really, really fast. So you will see lots of skyscrapers, and you will see lots of cranes in that same sky, and also the banks kind of run the show.
Unlike other cities, Charlotte became of age when the automobile was also booming. So driving is the primary way our kingdom moves about, and for planning transit, our spaghetti road system does not help at all.
We are fast becoming a booming cultural center. You can see the restored Carolina Theater in our Uptown district, while bold murals brighten neighborhoods with stories of identity and belonging. And we are a historic city. Our history is rooted in history and change, and in 1960, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. spoke here, and Dorothy Counts Scoggins made history, integrating Harding High School at age 15.
Now, I would ask you if you're hungry, but I know that some of you have already just eaten. But if you do get hungry along the way, we've created an Eat Like a Royal dining guide for you. I know that some of you traveled quite a way to get here. Some of you, I heard, a fortnight from Honolulu, Hawaii. So if you decide you want to enjoy some late night bites, we've got you covered. And I thought that I was actually done creating this guide until our dear good Dr. Lori Thomas told me that you all like to drink. So there's a list on there for you to enjoy breweries and cocktails. Speaking of me being a lady who takes quests, I will be the one leading your mural tour tomorrow. So if you are taking that tour with me, we will be meeting uptown to explore some of the finest green spaces, walking through alleys in the Queen City, so beware, to look at organic artwork and commissioned pieces so that you can learn more about Charlotte as a cultural center. It will also be with our Charlotte is Creative guides.
And I will be leading you on the Trail of History tour. This is a beautiful walk along Charlotte's greenways, our most famous greenway, Little Sugar Creek Greenway, where you will see larger-than-lifestyle statues of some of our most famous Charlotteans throughout our history.
Well, we're getting to the spooky slide. There we are. And we are in the South, and in the South we talk about church. So if you're interested in that, come hither to learn about the role that churches, particularly white churches, played on the built environment that we sit in this very day. You'll be joined and guided by author and organizer Greg Jarrell as we explore what church is all about in Uptown Charlotte, and we may even sing a little. Oh, I'm next. And to wrap it up, for those who like to prop up your feet and stay with your carriages, we have an option for you as well. Join the What's in the Ground bus tour, where you will explore several of Charlotte's historic neighborhoods, and one of Charlotte's star historians will even grace you with his presence whilst you ride. And, well, okay. And with that, our audience is concluded. The Queen's Data Court will see ourselves amused elsewhere. Thank you for coming. Enjoy your visit in our royal city.
All right, so they have the new group following up that. Thank you a lot. Okay, thank you. Yeah, maybe I'll just get started because we only have 5. Oh, click. Okay, looks like there was a potential issue. We are Cape Fear Collective, not collaborative. I am Dante Haywood, the Director of Data Science at Cape Fear Collective. And we are from Wilmington, North Carolina, as we said before, right on the North Carolina coast. We have a strong team with us today out there. Come say hi. Yeah. So we are a new partner, and we do a lot of the same data services that you all work on, from data capacity, data strategy. We like to say no to dashboards and random maps. And I'm going to start off with a piece of history, a challenging piece of history, but that we like to talk about when we meet a new audience. And that is the 1898 Wilmington Massacre. Wilmington, back in the day, was a place, almost a mecca for the black population in the Southeast. And some people weren't having that. So mobs of white supremacists overran and successfully launched a coup d'etat of the locally elected biracial government. Dozens of black population were murdered. And so where does that leave us now? We're still healing in a lot of ways, and maybe I'll talk to you about Cape Fear Collective a little bit. So starting on the street level, so not only do we do the data services, but we also have an affordable housing portfolio. The property on the far right of that is actually our property, and it doesn't look like the others. We have about 80 units of naturally occurring, very naturally occurring affordable housing. And we can see the same image all across Wilmington. And we are a growing city. That's why these properties have sprung up. But we also have a lot of growing pains associated with that. And for us, we're really trying to get ahead of the narrative around gentrification and change within our neighborhoods. As we continue to zoom out from that street to the larger census tract, we would call this the South Side neighborhood of Wilmington. And even just pre-pandemic to post-pandemic, neighborhoods are changing a lot. We've had a halving of low-income households in this census tract alone. At the same time, having a doubling of the upper middle income, and that's what we saw happening in the previous slide. At the same time, though, we have things like renter cost burden going down and household income going up, right? And we live in a town that is very much segregated. And as we continue to zoom out to the larger Cape Fear area, this past summer, we've been able to release a report, A Place to Call Home, all about home ownership in the Cape Fear region, diving into MLS data and all of the census and ACS data as well, and a few others, building relationships with our local Realtors Association. We also have healthycommunitiesnc.org, a great resource for North Carolina data based off of the 21 community health indicators in Healthy NC 2030. We do have maps in there, we have charts, graphs, but it's really been a tool for us to walk into organizations and places and people and have a baseline for what's happening in those communities as a first step. Moving on from there, we have a public interface to our internal community data platform. So you can go onto this site right now. There's about 1,400 indicators, a lot of the things that you all are familiar with already, AECF, RWJF, ACS data, and what we've done is cleaned it up and standardized and put it in a nice place. Moving on, those are things that we've done. Moving on to the future, a big push for us is data journalism as a concentrated effort to proactively build the stories that we see happening in our neighborhoods, like the slide you saw previously. In addition to that, we recently were awarded, and this will be a big push for our organization in working with our local $1.2 billion endowment to help them build their data strategy while also working with grantees on the ground and sort of doing that pincer movement from larger structural issues to the work happening on the ground. So very excited about that, and would love to talk to you all about that during this conference. So thank you.
All right, I'm going to talk about measuring impact today, what impact is, why measure it, and how we as NNIP partners have been doing it, and how we can do more of it. It's a fun topic for me because measuring impact is really about getting the cool and rich detail about your work and communicating it. And it's also a chance for me to revisit a lot of ideas and lessons I learned from Tom Kingsley, who is some of the originator of ideas about measuring impact in the network. So what is impact? It's when NNIP partners have influence, boy, my slides are, all right, have influence through their data and services. Impact is making a difference in decision making. It is what people decide to do, whether that's something different, more, less, or even not at all, because of what they learned from you, from NNIP partners. That is impact. The next stage of impact on the bottom of the slide is what happened next. What is different for communities and for people. So why measure impact at all? Well, first, it's a foundational aspect of communication. Measuring your impact is saying clearly to your funders in your community why your work matters. And the collaborative aspect of this is also the idea that if you tell your partners the impact you're driving towards, they will join you in helping to achieve that impact. But measuring impact is also about being a learning organization. Investigating impact gives you ideas about that can help you inform your future projects, how you can have more influence and more impact on decision makers. Investigating impact can also create important learning when projects don't go as planned and the impact is different or isn't there at all, which can happen, which brings me to my favorite Tom Kingsley quote about impact, although there he is giving out an impact award. So what are our experiences with measuring impact? So there's a long track record in the network with collecting stories about impact. They are documented in the archives of the network, and stories are rotated regularly onto the website, and plug for the new community of practice. That'll come up a few times here. And we've also had some new recent efforts to generate some of these impact stories intentionally. The Impact Fellowship has helped several NNIP partners create impact stories, And we're now coming up on the 10th year of the Tom Kingsley Impact Award, which will be handed out and announced tomorrow morning. The foundation of all of this work is conversations with local stakeholders about how NNIP partners influence their decisions and why those decisions make a difference for people and for neighborhoods. And so I know y'all are out there doing some of this impact measurement work already. My absolute favorite, the data center actually has a part on their website where they just ask for impact stories. So good job, y'all. Dante was just up here with a theory of change. You've also got examples of folks doing impact surveys. Other people have logic models. There's a fair amount of activity that's already out there. So there's good examples of this work. If you want to do more, you can. And so, if it's important to do, we should do some more. We can use the new website, the new community of practice to lean on each other. Man, this format was totally different when I said it. But to Kathy and Lee, I say, let's update the tools we have, let's curate them, let's make them more available, and let's lean on each other as a group of people that know how to do this work and do a little more of it, right? Seems pretty simple, but that's also unsatisfying as a call to action, right? If you could do more, you would already be doing more. If it was that easy, I wouldn't need to be up here talking about this. But what I think I see in this room, or what I hope I see in this room, is a coalition of folks that are willing to do more of this work if we can break it down to something simple, something that if you multitask, you could even send an email out today and get started with. And that's really taking the idea of talking to people about using your data and services, what they learned from it, what they did, and how that work helped them in the neighborhoods they work in and the people they work with. We know that these conversations work because that's how we have all the impact stories we already have. And so my suggestion to you today is to take what I'm calling an impact challenge. The impact challenge is to contact 3 people. Use this script for your conversation. If every NNIP partner in here did this, we would have so many stories. Milwaukee alone, if all of you made 3 calls, that's 24 impact calls. So use the network as you do this. Schedule time with me, schedule time in Kathy and Leah's office hours, get on the new community of practice and the website, ask for help doing this, but take the challenge, make 3 calls, have a conversation about impact. Thank you.
I think I'm gonna take a breath before I click this button. All right, thanks everybody. Thank you. All right. Hi everybody. I hope everybody is having a wonderful first day at NNIP. My name is Cameron Yap, and I work at Neighborhood Data for Social Change, or NDSC, at the University of Southern California in Los Angeles. Today I want to talk to you about how we're using administrative government data to quantify housing production in Los Angeles, some of the key findings that we had, and some lessons learned we can use moving forward. Really quickly, NDSC is a project at USC that's focused on making data accessible to people and partners around Los Angeles. So we have an open data mapping portal, we provide pro bono data support, and most recently we've created an annual housing report called the State of Los Angeles County Housing and Neighborhoods, or SOLACHAN for short. SOLACHAN is a data-driven look at LA's housing and demographic landscape. We wanted to examine the long-standing structural conditions that have led to the housing crisis that we see today and the recent shifts that are exacerbating these patterns. SOLACHAN is structured into 6 chapters, which are going to pop up any second now. We wanted to look first at the people who live around us in LA and the housing that is available to them. Furthermore, we wanted to dive into the 3 different housing tenure statuses that these people are then sorted in. So that's homeownership, rentership, and homelessness, and what factors lead to people falling or transitioning between these 2 categories. So we want to view housing status as more of a dynamic thing, as people do move often between these. They're not 3 distinct buckets. For today, however, we're just going to focus on housing supply. We want to look at how much housing is being built in LA right now, what do these buildings look like, and who can occupy them. And part of the reason we can do this is because California has what's called a housing element. So every 8 years, all the jurisdictions around the state make plans to meet their local housing needs. They report their progress every year, and then they refresh those goals. It's kind of a tough visualization to see, but you can see on the left, LA County is promising by 2029 over 800,000 new units. On the right, we're about 40% of the way time-wise to 2029, but we're clearly not 40% of the way there. Particularly the lighter colors are affordable housing units, so we have a lot of work to do. As data people, since all the jurisdictions around LA and the state are reporting this data, we're jumping at the opportunity to use this to paint a picture. How much is being built? Is it affordable? Are people owning or renting it? And are these structures big or small? Obviously, there's a whopping 88 cities in LA County, and we have data across 7 years. So we're going to dive deeper in later years, but this is the snapshot that we have so far. In recent years, LA's new housing is very rental heavy. It's buoyed by ADUs, which are accessory dwelling units. So they're affectionately called granny flats because a lot of people put their family members in like a structure in their backyard. And they're clustered in LA City. But the biggest takeaway from this slide is that only 10% of new completed units are affordable for low-income households. These are new rental units built out by year, and again, the lighter colors are the affordable units. So these bars are all very strongly dark red, or market rate units. There's a glimmer of optimism in the fact that you can see the recent years have more visible chunks of affordable housing, so there is a little glimmer of hope there in meeting these long-standing lofty goals. One of the biggest reasons that people are saying that it's too slow to build in LA is the timeline. So on average, our data has estimated that it takes 18 months to move from a building being permitted to being completed. And that is at least triple the national average of around 4 to 6. Particularly, this bar on the right is large multifamily 5+ unit properties can take almost 3 years just for that step of the process. In future years, what we're hoping to do more with this data is dive more into the other jurisdictions around LA, clean the data and process it even more, and also track how LA's newest Affordable Housing Solutions Agency is allocating their funding around the preservation and production of affordable housing around LA. There's obviously way too much content to fit into a 5-minute presentation, so I would highly encourage you all to check out the full report at this URL or this QR code. There's a lot of interesting stuff about the housing landscape in LA. Thank you so much.
Okay, we have a few minutes for Q&A if anyone has a question for any of our presenters. Yeah, Mike.
For Cameron, what's the main factor behind the significantly longer permit completion time in LA?
Testing? Oh, there you go. That's a great question. Part of what we did as part of Solachan is we interviewed people in the housing production space, and a lot of the reasons that people get backed up in that process is getting folks to come out and approve things. Also, laying things like water and power can take more than half a year to even a year, and I think there's a lot of administrative backup in the process of just getting things moving through the step-by-step approvals. But it's really a myriad of factors. I mean, I think what we've learned a lot from this work is there's no one point of the process that we're going to be able to free up and then like housing just starts flying. It's really baked into the system of housing production that LA has created.
Cameron, can I ask you a follow-up question to that? You talked about the permit process. Do you track before that in terms of the allocation of tax credits or other subsidies? Because that creates a large lag before the permit process.
Absolutely, I think that's a great point. Yeah, again, that was just the process of a building being permitted and then being certified and passing all the safety checks. Before that comes, like you mentioned, like the financing of it, the application of it, and the entitlement. So you can see, like, as that stacks up, the process is really lengthy. The data that we had on hand was the most comprehensive for permitting and completion. So in future years, that's something that we hope to see if we can expand on, is if we can get more comprehensive data for the steps prior to it. A large part of it was that that data was from 2018 to 2024, and some buildings are like entitled before that, outside that date range, but then only later got permitted, like 2 years later. So it is a challenge that we have with that data, but that's a great point.
Kathy, we got a question at the back.
Thanks so much. My question is for Dante. And I apologize for, this is my first conference, so if everyone already knows the answer, but you made mention that you're not a fan of dashboards and maps, and so I was wondering if you could share what the best practices are instead.
It sounds like there's a lot of answers in this room to that question. I guess for me, it's always asking, what is the question that you want to answer? And a dashboard or a map may not be the best way to get to that answer, and maybe that is too much of an industrial solution where, okay, we just throw some maps and some graphs on a web page, but then, like, what's next? Then you have to dig through the data, understand it, and try to get to an answer to your question, when really we can provide something else that gets you the direct answer that you need.
It's a very volatile question in this room, but I think that too often people end the investment with the dashboard and forget the people part. That's the main piece.
If I can jump in on that one too, since I have a microphone, and to force my presentation into the conversation, one of the pieces of the dashboard conversation too is if you look at it from an impact perspective and you call folks and say, how have you used this dashboard to make a decision? I think a lot of folks here have an experience where if they know if they either made that call or if they didn't, they knew the answer.
Be great. We have great examples.
Hi, I'm Michelle Smirnova. I'm also new here. And my center is also trying to figure out how to, I love the way you frame that about what is your question is what is your answer. And we've been toggling between their sort of one of their flagship products is this state of housing report, which is a 40, 50-page report that nobody reads. And so some people providing the solution is like, let's move to a dashboard. So anyways, I know there's a camp session about this, but I also appreciate that question and would love more conversation about, like, how do you effectively tell a story, recognizing that a dashboard is not going to tell that story in itself, but also recognizing most people are not going to read a 40-page report. So, like, what are some potential solutions? I would love, so if you see me and you have answers, come and tell me your answers, because I am hungering for them.
I think we got time for one more from Bob.
Yeah, so this is a question about Charlotte that I can't quite figure out yet, but this part of Charlotte is what, uptown? Mm-hmm. It looks like downtown in a lot of cities. So where is Charlotte's downtown?
You are in it. I would say uptown equals downtown in Charlotte parlance. If anybody wants to disagree with me, I'm open to disagreements. Yes.
As you can tell, uptown is on a hill. You could tell, right? It's higher elevation than the rest of the city, right? You can tell. That's obvious. So that's uptown. Don't give Amy a mic.
I feel compelled.
The central business district, the center city.
To respond to this particular question, I will share a short story. I'm a native Charlottean, as are my parents. My mother learned how to drive a stick on Tryon Street. I will let you walk from here down to Tryon Street to see our new library building that is being built, and everyone should ooh and ah over it. And as you do that, I would like you to think, as you're walking back, am I going uptown or am I going downtown? And you will reflect on my mother learning how to drive a stick on that stretch of road, and you will say, oh, maybe that's why she never wanted to drive a manual transmission ever again.
I'm intrigued. Everybody report back. Okay, thank you. Let's give a hand for all our presenters.